sometimes I would wonder whether, the private capital world or the private wealth world would really grab this and run with it. And would we get a kind of a block from big corporates? And when I look back at the last 1 year, that's for me has been a big surprise. That of course private equity firms are really interested, but even more important than that has been that the large corporates want to get trained in connecting talent to value. And that for me was a very pleasant surprise, because they realize that even in the largest sense, $200 billion market cap company, but ultimately it's hard for them, for employees to understand the value agenda, but they want to understand the human capital people, the golden triangle, the CFO, CHRO, and of course the CEO and the head of strategy. They really want to understand what is the value agenda of the organization, and how do you connect talent to that value agenda. So for me, that's been a big positive surprise. And it's harder, that. It's harder in these larger organizations. And when you start off saying, hey, what are those value hotspots? What are those adjacent critical roles? So it kind of breaks hierarchy, and everybody says, oh, that's not going to work in such a large company. And you know that it's not working. So that's been a big, big positive for me through this process.
Yeah, and and I think it's really interesting that I was expecting that there would be more difference between why a private equity firm would do it and why a large corporate would do it.
Yeah.
But actually, it's more similar than different.
Exactly right.
There are differences,
Yes.
and I think we need to understand the subtlety of the differences. But at the end of the day, and I know that you probably get tired of hearing me talk about this, we're at this very interesting inflection point where the rate of external change has gotten to be so fast.
Yeah.
And not only is it fast, but it's moving away from us exponentially. And as a result of that, these changes hit the companies.
Yeah.
And whether it's a large corporate that has a giant market cap and a huge company, or whether it's a private equity portfolio company, which might be a smaller company, but no less impacted by a number of these changes.
Yeah.
And when the change hits the company, then the value that they have been have had the opportunity to create, it starts moving around.
Yeah.
So that change hits and the value shifts. So now there's been a shift in where the value is. And once the value shifts, we know that money has to find its way there, because investors are seeking returns on that money. So the money's not patient.
Yeah.
It can't sit there.
Yeah.
And so change hits, value shifts,
Yes.
money moves, and then in order for the returns to actually be realized by moving the money from one place to the other, you have to connect people to it. So talent needs to find its way to these new value hotspots.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when talent is trapped in traditional ways of thinking about talent management and hierarchical notions of careers and hierarchy in terms of the way businesses work, and all of these old ways of thinking, which were designed 20, 30, 50, 100 years ago, still using tools that were designed 100 years ago.
Yes.
And the velocity of these other elements, it's not surprising that a large corporation or a smaller private equity portfolio company would be suffering the need to, now that we've identified this new value, how do I go capture it? Well, it's people that are going to go capture it. and the people are trapped,
Yeah.
so to speak. And we need much more efficient, much more helpful, much more effective ways of reconnecting talent to value.
Yeah.
And so, and along the way, you need guides. You need people that can help to guide the organization from a process point of view. So what process for talent management would we use?
Yeah.
And what set of tools would we use to be able to get the talent reconnected to value? And so these guides are our value coaches. And the guide might be my boss, who is a line manager.
Yeah.
The guide might be an operating partner in a private equity firm that is trying to help them to figure out how to organize the value creation agenda within the organization. It might be someone who is a CEO who is signed up for and on the hook for that value creation and knows that you can't get it done without people. And it might be an HR professional that is looking for ways to really make a difference.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a very, very exciting time to be working in and around human capital because of all the dynamics that are in this.